Yeah, and then see this, you know, what happened was just see, the road was coming down from here.
I'll start out in the west, and we'll move to the right going through town, pointing out various landmarks, and at the end of that, I'll turn it over to anyone with questions, or if you guys want to roam around and take pictures, that's fine too. So out in the west, immediately in front of me, you see on the other side of the cars there that stand of woods that's known as Reynolds Woods today. Back then it was known as Herbst Woods or McPherson's Woods. Herbst was the man to own it, McPherson was the one to use it. He grazed his cattle out in the woods there. It's hard to imagine now because of the dense vegetation, but soldiers could once march almost shoulder to shoulder through those trees. And that's exactly what happened as the Confederates made their approach to this position. It's known as Reynolds Woods today because that's the approximate location of the death of General Reynolds at about 10:30 in the morning. 3 hours into a 3-day battle, the Union Army was effectively decapitated when it came to their chain of command, until Abner Doubleday could come and assume overall command of the Union forces in this area. To the right of that, in the distance, you have a red roof building. That denotes Her Ridge. That's the approximate location of the initial skirmishes. When the Confederates ran into the Union forces, they thought they had run into an emergency militia that had been mobilized by the town of Gettysburg. And to their dismay, they discovered that it was a main component of the Union Army. Union forces spotted delaying action on Her Ridge, and then they strategically fell back to McPherson's Ridge. That's named for the McPherson farm. You can still see the barn on the property there. It's the gray and white building there. There used to be a 2-story farmhouse as well as a carriage shed on their property. Unfortunately, in 1895, they caught fire and they both burnt down. So the barn is the only original structure still remaining on the property. Running along that property is a road, that's Route 30, otherwise known as Chambersburg Pike. That's the main avenue of approach for the Confederates as they made their way to Gettysburg from Cashtown. On the other side of Route 30, you would have the railroad cuts. There's 3 of them. Think of it as almost like shooting fish in a barrel. There would be soldiers down at the bottom of these railroad cuts, and you had forces, enemy forces on the top, pouring fire down into them. So it's a scene of carnage and mayhem on the first day. On the other side of the chapel, you have a large stand of woods that's known as Sheets Woods. They conceal today what would have been very visible then, Oak Ridge and Oak Hill. Also, the Eternal Peace Light Memorial could be seen through those trees. During the winter and fall, you can see the flame peeping through the trees there. That was dedicated on the 75th anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg. Moving further into town to the right, you have the Gettysburg College campus. That was actually originally known as Penn Hall. It was founded, or Pennsylvania College, excuse me. That was founded in 1832 by the very same man who founded this institution. Think of the seminary as a graduate program. Pennsylvania College was intended to be the undergraduate feeder program for this institution. There were 3 buildings there on the campus during the time of the battle, 2 of which are still standing. The most prominent, unfortunately, is still obscured by Gladfelter Hall, almost directly in front of us. It's the red brick building with the clock tower on top. To the left of that, just poking up above the roof line, you see a white structure with a flagpole on top of it. That's the cupola of Penn Hall. And that served as a field hospital for Confederate POWs, and when it fell into Confederate hands, it resumed serving as a field hospital during the battle for those forces. Further into town, directly into the town of Gettysburg, you have a tan to the right. You have a tan gray building next to a long white rectangular structure with windows at a regular interval. That is the Gettysburg Hotel. That sits exactly on the square, and it's approximately a mile away from us. So it gives you an idea of scale and distance to see how far you can actually see out there. To the right of that, in the skyline, you can see a clock tower poking up. That has a reddish-pinkish roof to it. That is an approximate location of the Confederate battle lines after the first day. As we're standing, anything to the left and in front of it belonged to the Confederates after the first day's battle, so they owned most of Gettysburg at that time. To the right of the clock tower, you have a series of elevations. Not the first one, but the next one is Culp's Hill. And to the right of that is a large light blue water tower. That's Cemetery Hill. Cemetery Hill is important because that became the rallying point for the Union forces. After they were forced off of Seminary Ridge, they fled through town and began reforming and reorganizing their lines starting with Cemetery Hill. That's also the point where reinforcements were coming in for the Union forces. During the second and third day's battle, it serves as the center of their right flank. The flank actually extends around Pope's Hill, terminating on the other side of it, and then moving to the right from the water tower, it would extend along Cemetery Ridge that runs roughly almost exactly north and south. So it would be parallel to this ridge, Seminary Ridge. To the right of that, in the distance, you would have been able to see the big and little round top from this location. Unfortunately, buildings and vegetation at this time of year obscures the view. However, in 1885, a local photographer did come up here to take a series of photos to recreate what it would have been like in 1863. In those photographs, the trees come to about the base of Big Round Top, and you would have been able to see the entire elevation. So it really was a 360-degree view of the battlefield in the place where we're standing today. Alright, so at this point I'll turn it over to anyone who has questions. If you guys want to roam around and take pictures, that's perfect.